Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine, and this week we're hearing that the cod fishing and the black sea bass fishing outside of Block just keeps getting better. We're hearing about fast action for blackfish in the Eastern Sound. We're hearing that striper fishing still hanging on along most of the south shores of New England, and freshwater fishing out on Cape Cod continues.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
And before we begin, I just want to remind you guys that this report can be found on iTunes or any other place you find your podcast. All you have to do is go on there, search for the Fisherman magazine, and you'll be able to find what you're looking for. Then you can listen instead of watch. And like I said last week, you can pretend you're working while you get your headphones in and keep up to date on what's going on in the New England fishing scene. As we move over into Massachusetts, if you're a striper fisherman, the fat lady is clearing her throat, as they like to say. Anywhere from Maine down to just about the east end of the canal, it's pretty much dead, pretty much over. Unless you've got a little holdover hideaway somewhere, those fish are becoming active now. But along the ocean, facing beaches out there, it's pretty much over. And the same could be said for the Cape Cod proper. Not a lot of fish running the Cape beaches or any of the rips or anything like that right now. It's just, some of these select estuaries that hold fish through the winter. But the best place to find a striper on Cape Cod right now is either right outside the east end of the canal or through the canal itself. Most of these fish are going to be on the smaller side. Most of them are going to be under keeper size, but slots are still fairly common. And I did hear even just a few days ago some fish in the mid 20-pound class. So the canal continues to impress. In Buzzards Bay, decent numbers of bass there too, but they're kind of moving quickly and they're not hanging around. So in my experience, it's more of a nighttime thing this time of the year. You might find some schoolies in the daytime, but if you want to search for something a little bit bigger, I would highly recommend fishing at night. Black fishing in Massachusetts is still pretty good, but now it seems to be moving more and more west, so I'm not hearing much on the Cape. That doesn't mean they're not there. Maybe I just didn't get any reports this week, but north side of the Vineyard, all of the Elizabeth Islands, and then the Buzzards Bay shoreline are going to be your best bets, and the further west you go, I feel like the better your chances get. Tuna fishing is pretty much over for the recreational guy. Not a lot of recreational size fish left, mostly just giants. And I mean, let's face it, as the water gets colder and these winds get nastier, it becomes more and more of a professional fisherman's game. And you don't want to be caught out there in a boat that isn't up to the task of handling the seas. You can get away with it in June or August, but it's pretty risky to do it in November or December. And the last thing, the most exciting thing really that's happening in Massachusetts, is just the freshwater fishing. I talked to James Jukes. He said that they've all moved to freshwater up there. They've been fishing the Merrimack for pike and carp. And then the fishing's been pretty good for them up there. And then, all the bass ponds seem to be producing fish. It's a little bit of a slower bite typically at this time of the year, unless you hit it on the perfect day. But throwing jigs and throwing jerkbaits is going to find you some fish. Out on the Cape, the Cape boasts some of the best freshwater fishing in the region. And, it has a unique attribute to its winter fishery in that we almost never see ice on Cape Cod. So the open water fishing is viable and doable and good throughout the entire winter, really. So smallmouth bass fishing is really starting to light up in some of the bigger ponds now. Guys are getting them on Ned rigs and jerk baits, and the blade bait bite is starting to fire up now too. So that fishery is one of the most exciting ones, and December is one of the best months for it. Trout fishing is also very good. Excellent stocking program on the Cape. Lots of different species of trout, from tigers and brookies and browns and rainbows, and even a few broodstock fish and Atlantic salmon out there as well. That bite seems to be best from first light till about 9 o'clock in the morning, which is also the coldest time of the day. But if you don't mind getting colder, if you've got some Nordic blood like I do, you can head out there and you've got a really good shot at getting some fish in the morning. And that's pretty much the story that I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Over in Rhode Island, the striper fishing is, I would call it, actually a lot better than it is in Massachusetts. We've got a pretty good glut of fish in the area right now, especially in the west end of the state, even Point Judith all the way out to Napattree. That area is still holding the most fish. You are getting some of those trickle-through fish that are coming out of the canal and out of Buzzards Bay. So you can find them in between. But if you want to look for concentrations of fish, I would start at Point Judith and I'd head west from there. And it's not all just little schoolie fish either. The night guys, and it's mostly a surf thing at this point, are getting some nice fish. I'm seeing a lot of pictures of fish in that 30 to like 38 inch range. And even some good ones. I got one photo here from a guy, I'm not sure who he is, to be honest with you. It came to me through another friend. But this is a big fish. This is a two-handed fish. I mean, look at that thing. So you got a shot at still finding a really nice fish if you're not afraid to get cold and not afraid to put in the time. I still fished in a wetsuit this week, and I was mostly comfortable until the end of the night when my ankles started to burn from the cold water. Water temps are 50 to 54 degrees mostly inshore. You might find a little bit warmer water somewhere, but the bass fishing is still very good. And it's mostly plugs at this point. A lot of shops don't have eels anymore, but you can still find them. Eels are definitely going to work for you, but I do really well on surface swimmers, redfins, and needlefish at this time of the year. That's just me. Albies, it's over. I'm not afraid to declare that at this point. Albies are completely 100% over. The black fishing, it's moving a little bit deeper now, so you're going to start at 35 feet and you're going to move out from there. But the bite's still very good. I haven't heard of any really big ones again this week in Rhode Island. Mostly fish in that 4 to 8 pound class, but plenty of table fish, plenty of keepers, lots of shorts, and the action's still fast. You just got to find that bite. So if you're starting at 35, you may find them in 60, but they are still around and the bite is still very good. And then sort of the jewel of Rhode Island in the wintertime is, the east grounds, the windmills, and some of the other ledges south of the island. Really good sea bass fishing right now and phenomenal cod fishing. And it's only going to keep getting better. And this is one of the best times of the year to have a good shot at getting a really big sea bass, like maybe the biggest sea bass you've ever caught. So if you could pick a nice weather day, if your boat's still in or if you got it on the trailer, or you can hop on one of the charter boats. I know the Francis fleet is doing trips. I know the 7Bs are doing trips. And the Black Hawk will run Block Island trips as well. So you've got options, and that fishery is phenomenal. So don't miss out on that. And that's a story that I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. And as we move over into Connecticut, the striper fishing is holding on. And it's still in those same basic areas. You're hearing about good numbers of fish around the Connecticut River, and you're hearing about bigger fish out west. So we're seeing fish around the Connecticut River from small schoolies up to about 20 pounds. I still feel like you have a shot at getting something much bigger, even into the upper 30-pound class. I just don't think it's a reliable bet. But I do believe, in fact, I feel like I know that those fish are still there. Heading west from there, the reports I'm hearing have been kind of sparse because a lot of the charter guys are now off the water. But once you get to New Haven and then you start to move into Milford and Norwalk, it starts to pick up again. I'm hearing a lot more reports from there. And one thing to think about is that any of these places that hold holdover bass are going to have fish entering the estuary right now. So it should be pretty logical, pretty obvious that would be a good place to target, whether you're on the shore or in a boat or a kayak or whatever. Those fish are moving into their wintering grounds right now, and you can intercept them on their way in. So places like the mouth of the Housatonic River are going to have fish at this time of the year. And some of these lesser rivers as well that have smaller holdover populations are going to have fish right now. There are some really nice bass being taken around the Norwalk Islands. Fish well into the 30-pound class anyway, possibly much larger. The diamond jigging out in the deeper water, 28C and 11B in those areas. You're going to find some nice bass. You're mostly slot fish, but a couple maybe bigger ones, and you're still going to have a shot at some really big bluefish. In fact, there's been some giant bluefish inshore out that way. I've seen some photos of small stripers that were bitten clean in half by big bluefish. So they're still around out there. Haven't heard of any albies in Connecticut this week. I think that ship has sailed in Connecticut as well. But the bass fishing and the blue fishing is really good in the Western Sound, and then the bass fishing holds up pretty well until you get past the Connecticut River. Once you get from the Connecticut River east to the Thames, it starts to thin out a little bit, and the fish just get smaller, but there's still decent fishing to be had in those areas. Black fishing in the Eastern Sound sounds like it's been really good this week. Lots and lots of shorts though, so you are weeding through dozens and dozens of shorts to get a few keepers. I was talking to Dale, who works here at the Fisherman with me, and he said he was out on Sunday, and he said they caught 80 fish, somewhere in the range of 80 fish, and there were only 3 keepers in the mix. But he was bouncing around from Fisher's Island over to the mainland from Niantic, and kind of heading off to the Connecticut River from there. And he said the bite was great, just not a lot of keeper fish. So that tells me you got to move a little bit deeper. You got to, maybe start at 40 feet, 50 feet, and poke around some of the stronger ledges, some of the wrecks out there, and you might find some better fish. Throughout the rest of the state, as you get further west, the water's a little warmer, the fish are a little shallower, and the bite's still very good. In fact, the Western Sound doesn't usually see its best fall black fishing until around now. So this would be a good time to really, put your eggs in that basket. Head out west and see what you can find out there. Sea bass fishing is still decent in Connecticut. These fish are moving though. They're heading to their wintering grounds now. So if you really want to, maximize the odds that you have on a good weather day, which are fewer and further between at this time of the year, I would fish Montauk or Block Island. You can catch them in that central zone that we talk about a lot, kind of heading out toward Montauk, but the better fish, you're going to find them offshore at this point, and that's where I would target. Inland fishing in Connecticut, trout fishing is probably the best in New England. Really phenomenal, strong stocking program in Connecticut. A lot of great rivers that hold a lot of fish. Of course, the Farmington is the crown jewel. But you're going to do just as well in some places, in some of these lesser known places, because you're not going to have the competition with other anglers. So places like the Salmon River can be really good. Or you head out west and do like the Naugatuck or the Norwalk River. Those places hold a lot of fish, and they have great wintertime fisheries. Any one of the ones that's labeled a TMA is a great place to try in the wintertime. They keep those places pretty well stocked. And you're hearing similar things from a lot of these, from a lot of the stocked ponds as well. So the fishing has been very good for trout, and the bass fishing, especially for largemouth bass in some of the smaller ponds that stay a little warmer, has been very, very good. So overall, the fishing throughout Connecticut, whether you're doing saltwater or freshwater, is still holding up very well, still going strong, and there's no reason to think that we won't have blackfish well into December. And I feel like we'll definitely have bass in the Sound, striped bass in the Sound well into December. So those are 2 things to hang your hat on as we move forward. So now let's take a minute and take a look at what's going on in the Coastal Kayak Clash. This week in the Coastal Kayak Clash, the defense rests. We haven't seen a single entry now in over 2 weeks. If you guys want to make some moves on the scoreboard, you better fish now or forever hold your peace, because things wrap up on the 30th. Good luck out there, and happy Thanksgiving. Now let's throw it over to Max from Fisherman's World to see what's happening out in the Western Sound.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World, and we have another local fishing report. It's Thanksgiving week, and the fishing remains really strong for striped bass and blackfish. Along our beaches, we have a lot of schoolie action going on. They're blitzing on smaller baits, and it's pretty spread out, I would say, from like Sherwood Island, off the Penfield Reef area, and then the mouth of the Housatonic, and even now up into the river. Blackfishing remains strong. Guys are doing really good on our deeper water wrecks now, and in that 30 to 50 foot mark. They're finding limits with a lot of action. We've seen a lot of fish 5 to 8 pounds this past week. Guys looking for some bigger striped bass, the Housatonic is the place to be this time of year. So guys plug in the mouth at night or drifting the river from the boat with eels or soft plastics. Thanks and good luck.
And now let's take a look at what's going on in the Dreamboat competition.
Dean shows up big this week with 2 entries that suddenly add him to the board's 3rd place position for total points. His 3.62 pound porgy is now first place for porgy, and his 5.75-pound sea bass is in second place for sea bass. Troy also entered a tog weighing in at 8.40 pounds. Joseph Yam is still on fire as he upgraded his tog entry to 8.28 pounds. Joseph is in first place for total points. The Dream Boat Fishing Challenge is the Fisherman subscriber-only multi-species fishing competition with a chance to win a new Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha, along with many other great prizes. Subscribe now to the Fisherman magazine to be part of the action.
And I just want to wrap things up, say happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and, don't get too down as we move into December. There's still a lot of great fishing to be had, and, I'm going to lead the way all the way through the winter, give you good options the whole way through, and hopefully we'll keep that rod bent, clear through to April again. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, head over to the website, check out what we've got going on over there. We cover a huge swath of the coast with articles and reports. Can get you on fish no matter where you go. And if you're just a YouTube watcher, hey, do me a favor, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and hit that little bell thing down there so you get a notification every time we post something new. And until next week, again, happy Thanksgiving, good luck fishing, and we'll see you then. Thanks.
Steigercraft boats, built by people who fish our waters. Serious anglers choose Steigercraft for their 40 years of boat building experience right here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Visit steigercraft.com for a dealer near you.